All right. Dum, 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 dum. Excuse me. I don't know why every morning I have this like hacking cough. It's terrible. Bum, 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 bum. Of course, all this is optional. Do we use this ever? Oh, I guess we do. In our example or whatever. Do we use this? I don't think so. Good. Get rid of this. So I'm gonna keep it mostly short today because Sheesh. Terrible. What did this do again? Oh. All right, so I think we got all our everything's up on Git. Let's talk about how to move forward here. So we created this pool, this geometry pool, and a terrain generator. What's up, man? How's it going, dude? We got chunk and chunk meshes. We've built this somewhat strange terrain that I'm not really crazy about, but one thing we realize here is that we're still rendering all these quads. It's looking like it. Kind of. We're getting there. We're gonna have to do a little bit of work to abstract it all out, but I don't think we're to that point yet. One of the tricky things here is that I'm not using a model matrix to offset anything. So like all my offsets are because I'm actually rendering vertices at specific positions versus like offsetting, like using like a matrix to offset them. So what I really want to figure out is it's odd. Freaking dogs. Are you guys done? Thank you. Squirrel. Okay. I'm poking around in here. I'm thinking whether or not this is going to be a problem because of what is renderable? Let's see. Let's look at this because we might create something else for our chunks. See, I don't particularly like this, to be honest. How do I use this? Let's figure this out. I actually think that we can just do something like this. Let's try to go a little bit further with this abstraction. Let's call it I really want to I'm trying to think if this would hinder our API a little bit, but I actually don't think it will. Let's go to core. Let's create something called like let's do I. I positional. Sounds right to me. Finds an implementation prototype for a yeah, it's really cool. I've been trying to figure out how to link my Amazon account to my Twitch account forever. And they like gave me a very quick link to do it. I didn't get any. I got crap. I got like a I got like a diva skin or something. Stupid. Like not a good diva skin. I feel like this is too broad of a description. You're gonna see where I'm going with this. I really just want to have something that is capable of rendering a chunk without having the overhead of a rocks object. And let me think here. We could make we could be specific. We could be specific. But what does that mean in terms of API? I don't think it means anything. I really don't even think that's useful. But I think that we figured out that we do need I wonder if we can just take, let's see. Like, what I'm wondering is do we even need this? And I think that the answer is going to be no, that we don't need this, but I don't want to imply that. I really actually think that we can do this just like this. And it might mean that we have to change. So where's our OpenGL? Let's go to our OpenGL renderer. Renderable. Oops. Nice, nice. Okay, so why does it not want me to have these? Oh, interesting. It wants me to use this new C+ or this new C# standard. Oops. We can try that. Expression bodied property. Now, what's tricky about the bounding box is the bounding box probably needs to be. Let me see. Let me just look at this guy. What's an oriented bounding? Oh, this is oriented, which means what does this actually mean? Oh, it's got a model matrix. What does this actually mean, though? What does it do? If it's oriented, does it even do anything? Or does it just hold on to a... Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even look like it changes the model matrix at all. It just adds one to it. I get it. I see how that works, I guess. I guess the idea is that you would set like the inverse or something. So this is slightly tricky. Because we really just, I think we just really want this to be, I think we just really want this to be easy to use. As in, if we don't have one of these, it shouldn't be a problem. Let's go to our camera really fast and let's look at this. I need to comment some of this stuff. Bounds. Look, this is good because this is what I'm doing now, and I had a note that said to do it. So here's what's tricky about this. Is what I'm thinking about. Is like for chunks this is really easy, but for regular objects that have rotation and stuff, it's going to be somewhat difficult because you're constantly having to update your bounding box. Part of me just wants to is this can we modify this, or do we need to, is it always that we need to create another? Oh, that's good. So we can always modify. What does this do? Oh. Okay, there. This allows you to transform it. So this actually isn't. This is a great class. We're gonna use this for a lot of stuff. So let's not make this settable. Let's just Let's back it with a read only. Access. You're gonna see what we're gonna do here. The only point of this is gonna be now this seems somewhat weird to be on a renderable, but at the same time, like, we don't want it to be on rocks object. We want it to follow. I'm a little bit stumped, to be honest. I haven't really considered how this all should work. Mainly because here's the thing: is our engine does support objects like random scene objects, and that's good. But our main focus here is going to be voxels for now. And as it pertains to voxels, like, we don't need the overhead of having a full transformable object attached to our chunks, because our chunks, it's easy. We know the bounds. The bounds are basically the world position plus the dimensions. Basically, I'm just considering doing something like this. I think it would be really expensive to try to determine the min and max from the geometry. But this is for the iRenderable. This is for the other thing. It's for like yeah, and the other thing is once we create the VAO, it's done for. There's no more access to the vertices. So I guess what I'm trying to consider here is whether or not we should cull this guy, and maybe what I should just do here is default this to, let's see, min. We'll just set the minimum to let's do this. So for our bounds, we'll just set we really wanted to be like in the halfway point. So let's. I mean, this actually seems like it'd be something that we would update. Yeah, let's do this. So we'll call a little function called update bounds. Oops. That we will. Damn it. Okay. And why is it using this format? This is some bush league shit right here. I thought that I modified this. Oh, I just installed ReSharper, by the way, so that's why probably it looks a little slightly different. Editor. Give me a second. I just need to I need to update my formatting here. Tabs and indents. Braces. No. All right, I think we're good here. Okay, we'll just save that. So when we update this, I think all we really want to do is we just want to take. Well, let's take position. So we'll just set basically it to a position, and we'll just give it a 1x1 diameter. I think that's probably the most acceptable thing to do here. We do want to at least create the bounds here. New. We'll give it no parameters. Then we'll update it, and we'll just do bounds min. Well, what set extents? I think we can do that. Yeah, we'll just set min to model position, and then model dot position plus vector 3.1. So we'll just add one. We'll just make that the bounding box. Whoops, that's why it's mad. This should be bounds. And I think what we need to do here is update bounds before every draw. Actually, I take that back because our renderer, yeah, that's what our renderer is going to need to do. Okay, actually, that's what we'll do. Okay, we'll go into renderable here. We'll make update bounds, actually. We'll call it right there. We don't even need to call it right there, I don't think. No, we don't. We'll make our bounds do this. We'll do get and we'll do update bounds and return bounds. So basically, anytime we request our bounds, we'll get a fresh, new, updated version, and that way in our camera, we can do this, and we can return this. We won't even pay attention for right now. We won't even pay attention to transform. Although we could, I don't think I am. For right now, I'm not. We probably will eventually. Okay. With that, let's see what this does, actually. I'm curious. What is it mad about? Why is this like this? That is ridiculous. Why would it be like that? For model. Oh, did I remove model? Because I didn't really mean to. Ugh. Yeah, I did. You know what? I have no problem with making this, typing this as in fact, maybe that's what we can do to make this a little bit more pleasant. No, that's not going to be more. We'll just and this is fine actually. We can do this just like this. No big deal. Except for now, of course, it doesn't run. It doesn't run because I guess it doesn't think anything is visible. That is insanely frustrating. So all this really means though is that I just need to have something we'll just have a culling enabled. I don't know. This is slightly misleading. God, why is this such a pain in the ass to think about? I think this is. I think this is fine. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's do that. I like that. Okay. So it's making my head hurt this morning, to be honest. Like just some of this stuff. Like we did it correctly. It's just. I think you can do that now. That's actually pretty neat. Do, 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 do. And we'll just make update, not care. If well, actually, you know what? This is still fine. It can do this. That doesn't bother me. But what we will do is in our camera, wherever we call we can just do if renderable, oops, or if not renderable dot culling enabled. So if culling is not enabled, we'll just return true, and if it is, then we'll actually return whether or not it's in the bounds. And this should actually show our objects again. Yeah, that's good. So what I want to do is this, is I want to create something called let's do this. Let's go to Voxel and let's create like a new folder in here and call it render, and let's add a chunk mesh is what we'll call it. And this is going to be kind of representative of our renderable object, our renderable chunk. And we're going to make it a little bit different because we want it to not have like a transformation and all that crap. I mean, it will eventually have a transformation, but yeah, wait, how have you not seen this? I've run it like 20 times. You're not paying attention. You son of a bitch. Just kidding. Oh, I'm just kidding, man. So for me, it's basically going to be like this. So we needed to implement everything. We're going to default this to this isn't well, I guess that's fine. Now here's what's nice about the AABB here is that we don't have to update it at all because it's just gonna work. And truthfully, we could probably get away with coming up with some sort of generic. Really, I should probably call OpenGL renderable as a chunk. We're gonna end up getting stuck with OpenGL, even though I had done a little bit of work to try to abstract it out. I think we're gonna end up getting. I could probably rename this to chunk mesh like GL or something like that. But if we implement another rendering style, then we can look at it then. So I think what I want to do with my chunk mesh is what I'm trying to think about here is, do we part of me feels like should we build it? Should we allow this to be like a builder? Or should we just pass in a chunk? A chunk and its VAO. I mean, I kind of think that's fine. I like. Right? So let's look at OpenGL renderable. So I mean, like draw with the camera and draw. Why? So many phone calls this morning. It's going to be the same type thing. Oops. So it needs geometry. but I suppose we can do it like that right now. Let's do it like that. Let's do. Does it need to be read only? I think so. No, let's just make it. And then let's make it a chunk. Let's give it a chunk. And we'll make this. This can probably be read only. And then we'll be able to basically just get bounds. Axis align bounding box, and then we'll just put bounds. It's really easy. That'll be really easy to do. We'll just have bounds. Be return that. What do you mean convert to auto property? Oh, kiss my ass. Just completely remove my thing. I don't like that. I want to convert that. Oops. Identity. Camera projection. So our model matrix never changes. This is going to be matrix for .identity. Same sort of thing to some degree. Now the difference is this. When we create this guy, public chunk mesh, this will be our constructor. We'll pass in a chunk and a VAO geometry. And then we'll set our chunk equals to our chunk, our geometry equals geometry, and then we'll set our bounds equals new, axis allow bounding box, and our minimum is going to be the chunk world position. And actually, one thing we could do to make chunk a little bit better is we could have a public static vector3 dimensions I don't think we can do it. Yeah, we can actually do this. Vector3 dimensions equals new vector3 width, height, depth. And then our, what was that? This is our max would be chunk world plus chunk dimensions. So basically this is going to create an AABB of the size of the chunk, and this never has to change. This is always going to be this, and it's never going to change. And this is what it wants me to do. It wants me to convert this to an auto property. And that's it. So, same sort of thing though. Same principle. OpenGL renderer still uses the same like rendering techniques. It is by default. We're gonna make our chunk mesh by default is gonna be cullable, which means it's not gonna render all the time, and it's gonna use the bounding box to determine whether or not it's gonna render. What I'm curious though is, do I need to transform it so that it's in camera space? Because, this is tricky. We'll see. We'll see if I do or not. I don't think I do. Yeah, dude. I got the evaluation version. I saw that you could get an evaluation for 30 days. I use it at work all the time, and I've been noticing that when I'm doing this segment that I'm like struggling because I don't have my resharper tools. It's crazy to me because you don't realize like what's ReSharper and what's Visual Studio anymore until you don't have it. And then you realize all the things you're missing. So if we go into Rock's main and this is what I was going to do. Wherever we're like pumping out our chunks at full speed here, we're adding a new OpenGL renderable, and this is not what we want anymore. What we want is we want to create a new chunk mesh, and we're going to pass it chunk and the result of our render, that gigantic, like, disgusting nested loop. And then from here, I don't think we need to change anything else. I think that is actually it. Did I move my camera? What exactly just happened? Did I move my camera? Why did that change? Dude, I'm a little bit baffled. Because this entire time I've been using Voxel object. Look at this. Let's go here. Where's my object, damn it? This actually seems right to me. This is all positive directions. Okay, so hold on. So let me fix this so that chunk mesh actually disposes properly. So let's look at this for real, because I'm so curious about this. I don't know if you noticed, but like it started appearing, all my blocks started appearing in a different spot than they were when I used the rocks object. So if we come down here, let's see, let's go into, I really just want to go into, where's our renderer? Here's what I want to do with our renderer. I want to change it a little bit. I'm going to change this. Instead of having a scene, I'm just going to I just want to be able to pass a camera and then like renderable. Hey, so Bo, you get to see this now, so we're just gonna add a little debug print here. And I'm just gonna add renderable. I don't know what's gonna tell me, but so look, so it's basically telling me when it's not visible and when it's visible. If you look at the way, basically all this means is that it's not let me actually see if I can chunk mesh. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Actually, here's what we can do. We'll do this in draw, and we'll do it in chunk mesh draw. And what we'll do in OpenGL renderer is that at the end of every draw, we'll just do this. Actually, we can do this in Rox main. Rox main. At the end of every render, we'll just do this. We'll just draw. We'll just write out. Yeah, here. Console right line, and we'll just pass like a little separator. And then in chunk mesh, we'll just, in our draw method, we'll just write out this. We'll just console.writeLine draw chunk, and we'll do chunk.world. So basically this is just going to be like a debug way of, so it's telling us when we're drawing them. So we're drawing all of them right now. But if I turn over here, the only one that we're drawing is 0, 0, 0. And then if we go right here, it's just basically as I approach this, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's actually pretty damn good. So all this means is that basically we don't even bother attempting to render anything that is not in view of the camera. And that is optimization number 1 for today. And then we simplified this API a lot, and we can just do render, and then we can pass it a main camera and chunk meshes. So we're gonna do that. So we can just pass it a whole list of things now, versus this is a little bit different since we're actually updating our colors and stuff there. How do you know that everyone is getting Overwatch skins? Is it because everyone has a Twitch Prime thing by their name now? You just assume that everyone jumps on Overwatch? Okay, so that actually worked out really nice. All right, now just for a chunk so what we've done so far is we've gotten rid of the need for a rocks object. We basically just have an ability to now just take a chunk, pass it to a renderable object, and it's going to define its own bounding box, or it's going to default culling to true. We love everything about it. We probably want to expose like chunk or something in a little bit, but anyway, we have a much more efficient, like at least in terms of how much stuff it's rendering, a lot more efficient. So side, I'm not sure that with I don't think it is part of an enumeration you can. But we can do this. We can create a public static class and call it sides. And helper utility for side enumeration. And really all we want here is we just want all the sides. So I guess the best thing to do here is just public static read only side array sides. See, I wish you could do all sides. I wonder if I can do like a... Can you do like an extension? No, we couldn't because we need it to be static. We'll just call this all. Excuse me. Gosh. Read only, side, array, and we'll call it all. And we'll just set it equal to whatever we had in our main class. This disgusting. I kind of feel like I had like something called like an enum helper. Let's just make one. Let's just make one, and just for shits and giggles here. Let's just call it enums. We'll call it public static class enums, and we'll just have we'll have a generic function called public t array, I think is what we want, and we'll call it values for. All right, we'll just call it values. I don't know if can you constrain to an enumeration. That's it. That seems like you should be able to, since it's like a special type. Let's see. CSharp generics constraints for enumeration. I don't think you can. You can just make it a struct, and then you could check for enumeration, I guess. And it implements iConvertible. Okay. So this is as good as you can get, where T is a struct and oops and iConvertible. And then you can do this. If type of T is a num. So you can do if not a num. And this is kind of meh, but we'll throw a new argument. I like this. This is a Stack Overflow example. T must be an enumerated type. And then we can return, oops. I guess we would do exactly like this. Enum get values type of t. Return Okay, so that's a little helper. So we'll just do a nums values side. So we'll just make this a little bit better here. So for all sides dot all. Okay. So now we're not like having to calculate or retrieve that every single time. So here's the thing about sides is we want to get a direction for a side, and then you remember we have our directions helper, and we'll do direction for it, and we can pass it a side, and it's going to give us a direction. Now here's the tricky part here is that we're not going to check the borders yet. So really and truly, what we need to do is just this. If x equals 0 or y, okay, if x equals 0 or x equals chunk dot width minus 1, or y equals 0, or y equals chunk dot height minus 1, or z equals 0, or z equals chunk dot depth minus 1. I know this is not exactly where we would. Let's do it. Let's just not. I'm not going to say we should later. Let's just do it. Where's my F12? Jeez. And then I guess we just want something that's like public static read only. bool. Oh, no, we just want a public static bool is chunk border. And we can do, we'll just do units. Okay. So we'll say if chunk dot is chunk border XYZ, then actually I think we want to do, then we'll just add face like that and continue. We'll handle those later. Chunk borders TBD. And then if not, then we need to check block next to current block in direction of the side. If neighbor exists, don't, neighbor exists and not air block, then don't draw. That easy. So we get our direction, and then we basically need to check. So we would do this. We would basically do if chunk, well, if the current chunk, if chunk dot at x plus, we'll add it. It would probably be okay to add like a chunk at with a vector 3, but for right now, let's do chunk at x plus direction.x. Oh, this is going to be annoying as shit with the, yeah, let's, you know what, let's add a helper here. Public block at, and I'm just going to add a float x, float y, float z, and we'll return at, and then we'll just cast it. I don't really know what else to do here. That seems kind of ridiculous, but math dot, I guess we would round, or I don't want to round it. Yeah, let's just do that. That's fine with me. And then let's have one that's like this, block at, and we'll vector 3. I'll say chunk coordinates, and we can return at. Okay, so it just makes it easier to access. So we'll just do this. We'll do, we probably could just do something like this. We could do var block position equals new vector we could probably do it like this. Let's do a new vector 3. That way we don't have to create this every time, and we could just do blog post dots. Is there a set or something? I don't think there is. So let's add that. Let's add that to our math extensions. We'll do public static void set this vector 3 at this, and then why is it okay? We could probably add a whole lot more. Like we could do one for uints and probably doubles. Because what is the x? Oh, those are floats. That's fine. Okay. This is good with me. Okay. Maybe int. I don't know if it would try to cast it or not. Let's just add an int. Just because an int version. Roxbane. So we'll block post, we'll do set, and we'll pass in XYZ. And our block position, basically what we're going to do is this. We have our directions, so let's just say block post plus directions. Now what is it mad about? Oh, dot block type, oops, not equal the block type dot air. If it's not air, or sorry, if it's equal air, then we render it. All right. So, oh, womp, womp, womp. Index is outside the bounds of the array. So what is XYZ here? Whoa, that's a massive number. Why is that so massive? Y is humongous. Why is Y humongous? Actually, let me see if it gives that to me again. What is the stack trace? Chunk at. Let me go to chunk coordinates. -1. Oh, God. We can't do that. Well, it shouldn't have been doing this in the first place. Wait, did I not continue? That's why. Wait, look at this. It's doing it for 0, 0, 0, I'm pretty sure. Here, we'll add this debug line here. Yeah, block post is 0, 0, 0. See, this should have tipped off this. So why isn't this fucking returning true? Oh, why doesn't this tell me what it's gonna return? Piece of shit. I swear to God, like all you got to do is show the return type. Just gotta set up freaking just to debug something. So is border is true. So what's the problem? Where's this continuing? Am I wrong as what this should be doing? Should I just make it a else statement? Where does continue go? All right, was a step. We'll step over. Oh, it's continuing out of that. But it still should work. Okay, what is blog post now? I'm so confused, dude. It's got to be something to do with the number conversion. Yeah, it totally is. That says that's not necessary. But I feel like clearly it is. Did I screw something up? Like, what's the problem? Why is that not working? Is it because it's a struct? Is it like extensions on structs, I guess, don't actually work? I guess. Like, I can't just alter this. Like, I can't pass this by reference, I don't think. Yeah. Okay, so never mind. I can't even use this. I'm gonna keep them here just because, but that's really annoying. That I have to create a new one of these every single time. All right, I just have to do this. Blog post dot x equals x. Blog post dot y equals y. Blog post dot z equals z. Okay, whatever. That works. All right, so we're rendering the same thing. Nothing has really changed. Now here's the difference. Is now when we go inside here, all we're going to see is chunk borders. Like, we're not going to see every face of every block anymore. We're just going to see chunk borders because we've chosen not to look across chunks yet. Now, if it's a chunk border, actually, what we can do is we can make this a little bit better, just slightly. We can actually say if our side This is why flags are better. This is why we could use flags. But if our side is back or side, never mind. I'm not gonna do this. I could explain how to make it better, but we're just gonna handle this when it becomes a chunk. Cool. What's up? What's up? What's up? So what I was gonna so the way we can optimize this further is if you notice this, I just like so on the block boundaries here. So if we go inside here and we look around, so our borders are there, but it's just the border block. It's the entire block. So like if you zoom in right on a block, you see that it's still rendering every side for those border blocks. And that's expensive. So what we could do is say, depending on what border we're on, and that's actually kind of neat too, but depending on what border we're on, we would need to ensure that we don't go beyond that border that way. However, that's kind of a waste of logic at this point, because eventually what we'll do is we'll look at neighboring chunks. So if we're on a border, instead of using the neighbor, in the direction of the side or whatever, we would have to look up the block on the next chunk. But that just involves us kind of looking outside of the existing scope, and we just we don't have a data structure for that yet, but we will. So we made some pretty good optimizations today. We're not drawing near as much. In fact, it'd be kind of neat to see. Let's just see optimization wise, like let's see how expensive this is without any optimization here. Right, we'll just dump our geometry like we do. And I think we can let me see if I can enable time profiling for this. So right now I think it's generating it might not have it. It says it's initialization. No, why is positive? Wait, do we have an init? Where is it? I wanted to see if we had a entry for it. It's not going to be a huge thing because it would just be a knit mesh. I don't actually think we have it. Let me. Okay, this should include it though. It's not. I don't think it's create meshes. It's Is it create meshes? It might be. Yeah, it is. Create meshes. So create meshes costs 140 milliseconds. $140 for this, which isn't horrible, but this is only what, 9 chunks. So it's not good. So if I add this back, let's just see what kind of savings we get. Either way, we're gonna get. We might not get crazy CPU savings, but we're gonna get good GPU savings because we're gonna render way less. And if we look here, where are we? I wish I could search. Anyone see it? It's got to be up here somewhere. Create meshes. There it is. 50 milliseconds. So about a third of the time. So that's just CPU time too. That's not even calculating the savings on the GPU. So that's a huge amount of savings, really. I mean, we just got 3 times faster. Just by adding some basic filtering to the creation of the mesh. It also reduces. I think most of the time that it would reduce is basically here though, because when it creates it, the 2 mesh is somewhat expensive. But in general, I mean, like, this is just by filtering this stuff to determine whether or not we should draw it is actually reducing CPU from 140 to 50, and GPU wise, it could be a lot harder to measure, but we're getting better savings, or we're getting more savings that way. I have to run because it is work time, but I will be back tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.